Okay guys, Cerberus here, just doing a quick narrated ride because a lot of the audio from this is going to be very much obscured by wind noise. We're just starting off here on the very beginning of what's going to be quite a lengthy journey up to the summit of Butser Hill, which is one of the tallest points in Hampshire. And we're going to find that the wind is a recurring theme in today's video, because at most points of this ride I was unprepared for it, and it really did some pretty horrible things to me on the way up the hill here, and so you'll find me complaining about it at numerous junctures on this video, where we do come back to the ride audio. And for now it doesn't look too bad. You can see that in the top of the trees they are swaying about, but not too badly. But thanks to Rocksteady on the DJI Osmo Action 3, we're not really seeing the results of that wind, as in how it affected me in the wheel, in that we were literally getting buffeted around all over the place and pushed to bits of the road we didn't want to be on, and sometimes pushed into potholes and things, but that is all beautifully disguised, hidden and made as if it wasn't true by Rocksteady Plus, which is just doing an amazing job at holding the camera rock solid as we go along this very, very bumpy farmer's road. And of course the suspension of the wheel is also helping. You can see some indication of the wind in what the grass to left and right is doing, but of course the main thing that is affecting me badly, and the reason that I'm having such problems with wind, is because I am on one of the worst machines for tippiness and instability under those conditions, which is the Bigoda Master. And the reason that it's so horrible in conditions like this is because of the pedal height, which is, you know, at axle level pretty much, and at least a foot off the ground. So you're very, very high on the wheel, and also the weight of the machine itself is very, very top heavy. So this results in an extremely tippy, skatey, sketchy feeling sort of wheel whenever you get any force pushing on you from the side. And as I am about to find out, much to my annoyance, but also, you know, good XP, I'm about to find that I am really, really tested in that regard. So I've decided to undertake this journey, because initially the BBC weather reports told me that it was going to be 10 kilometres from north, which is, you know, nothing to worry about. Oh, you can hear it there in the original sound. Big gusting, and as you see I have to slow right down to be able to cope with that. Anyway, so they told me it was 10 kph from the north, and maybe it was at earth level and in the centre of town, but as soon as I got on this road, it started climbing like radically more than that, to the point where by the time we get to the top of this hill, which is 600 feet elevation, I think we're going to be up at 40, 50, even 60 kph winds, and that is definitely no laughing matter when you are on top of a master which is as tall and tippy as it is, and also you're trying to ride a road which is full of 1 foot deep potholes you must not get blown into, and also it's going to be quite tricky if we meet cars either coming behind us or the other way. Although I can see them in my helmet mirrors. See that big pothole there we just missed? That was, honestly, it was about a foot deep, and if my wheel goes down one of those, there's no amount of suspension, good or not, as the case may be, on the Master, it's not going to save me from that. And there we are, just letting a car through there that we have seen well in advance because of our helpful helmet mirrors. They might make me look like a deranged electric sheep, but it's worth it for being able to see what's going on behind me. And I should say that we've mounted the camera, which is a DJI Osmo Action 3, if I haven't mentioned it before. We're testing the HDR mode of that, so we're doing this in 10-bit dynamic range, so that we should be able to capture some details in the shadows and the bright bits of the sky. Notice we're riding directly at the sun at the moment. So, yeah, that seems to be coming out okay. And I think we're at 4K as well. Here's a car coming the other direction with no room, so we both slow right down. I'm waving at him variously and doing the international Namaste prayer sign of peace. which I hope he interprets as please don't run me over. Another big couple of potholes there we narrowly avoided. Overhanging stuff in the road. Sometimes we have to duck under that or go around it. And then we're coming up to the first bits of major elevation, because we've got to climb 600 feet here basically to make it to the top of Butser Ridge. Another huge pothole. Fortunately nothing coming down the road, and I'm checking in my mirrors. There's the wind. big gusty crosswind there. And anyway, back to what I was saying earlier. We've mounted the camera on the top of the wheel at the moment because I decided it was just too risky biscuits to put it on a big selfie stick extending 6 foot out in front of me, which I thought was going to be even more of a hazard in the wind, and I don't want extra hazards while I'm on roads, even though they are these narrow country back roads. As you can see, I have to slow right down when I come round blind corners. Sometimes you'll hear me dinging my bell there as well. I'm not sure how effective that is or not. And we're into a sheltered bit now, so I'm speeding up a little bit. The master easily providing enough power to get up these sort of 1 in 8 type gradients. But the reason we're going very slowly isn't so that we don't overpower it or risk overheating it. It's purely because it's much easier to control the epic wind like we're now hearing if we're going more slowly. Were I to be doing this at 45 or 50 kph, I'd just be getting blown straight into the hedge, and that would be the end of that, or having to crouch so unnecessarily low on the wheel that it was, a big effort and not very pleasurable to ride. There's my little cycle bell you've heard there. I don't know why I'm doing that really, because if a car's coming around the corner it certainly isn't going to hear a pathetic little bell like that. Well, I think maybe I can hear a car behind me at this point. Or it might be just wind. No, I think it's just wind. So getting a little bit higher on the hill now, so even though we're in a sheltered bit, the wind is increasing. Probably up to about 20 or 30 crosswind now. That's kph. But we do seem to be having a temporary respite from it. More potholes. More overhangers to the left. It's fine when it's just bits of light foliage like that, but I'm always on the watch out for the dreaded brambles, because of course sometimes they can reach 3 or 4 foot into the road. Also, we should note the amount of loose gravel going on this road, which is also not the greatest fun ever for a master. Even with the CST 186 tyre, which is actually quite good for off-road stuff and grippy in the trails and things. But in fact, it's actually quite good on roads like this as well, where it's really rough asphalt. But what it doesn't like is grit. And if the grit is like, quite loose and jangly on the surface, then you can get a bit skatey, and of course the wind doesn't help, and crouchy legs and avoiding the overhangers and the potholes. It's all work to be done and things to think about, and things that stop you having just a carefree easy ride along in the countryside. So at this point, I know I've been wittering all the way through it, but I couldn't be recording narration for this because I literally needed all my concentration to stay on the wheel and try and get up there without putting a foot down, avoiding all the hazards that were presenting themselves. I'm sure most of you watching this are thinking, oh, well, he's an absolute wuss. And you're right, I am. But the reason is, not only did I have a little unplanned RTA the other day, which undermined my confidence a little bit and made me a bit extra cautious about playing where the big metal cage car things are, but also this is my first major trip, I'd say, where I've used minor backcountry roads. And I think here's a car. Yeah, so I'm not really used to situations like that where I'm passed so closely by traffic, and although I'm trying to keep good awareness of them and sort of know when they're coming and maintain good relations with people, and also stick to these narrow back roads, You know, I'm not very used to it yet, so my confidence isn't high in situations like this. So I'm a bit paranoid, and I'm looking around constantly to see what could be coming. And there, you see, it looks like I've just crossed over a road, but I haven't. I've looked very carefully to make sure there was nothing coming around that corner. And now we're going to stop here because I think we've gone the wrong way. Over to live cam audio. Wow. My God, that was horrible wind. Now, are we going in the right direction, I wonder? And I suspect this is not it. So we might have to look and see where we are on the maps. I shall start recording again when I've done that. So here we are, resuming our ride, this time on the right road. And we're in a little low bit now. I think we've climbed about maybe 300 feet since the beginning of the ride. But now we're going to climb about that distance again, but in a much shorter forward-facing distance. Just worrying about what's coming around the corner. Looks like the wind has died off for a little bit, but that certainly won't be lasting very long. But we're now basically leaving the lowland farmers' roads. I mean, it's a farmers' road all the way to the top, but we're leaving the lowland sort of sheltered bits, and we're going to get up to sort of the crest of a big hill now. So we can expect the Richard winds to be steadily increasing as we do that. But for now we're getting away with it, and as you can see we're going a little bit faster. Did find at various points along this ride there was bits of fauna flying out from the hedgerows at me, so quite big beefy bumblebees and some butterflies. That was all nice to see the nature running away in terror from my impending wheel. As you can see by my shadow there, I'm doing the arms a bit, which is very unprofessional if you're quite experienced on the wheels. Normally we like our arms hanging loose and free by our sides, making us look like we're free and easy swingers about town and know what we're doing. But petrified as I am by the oncoming gustiness, my arms are in rather rigid sort of oh shit position rather than maximum relaxation. So that's ready to sort of brace me in any direction should I suddenly get a hard push. Bit of the horrible road surfaces there. Ooh, that was a deep one. They seem to have finished building the road a little bit short of the edge there. You can see we're trying to stay away from the gravel in the centre. I think we're coming up to a farm now, possibly the last farm before the Butser Ridge. Oh, there's a big one. Very good, bit of open field to the right. It's a shame the camera's mounted this low, really, isn't it? You can't see all the beautiful meadows that I was passing. There we go, past the farm that does the camping. So if you are somewhere else in the world and ever think you'd like to explore the wonders of the countryside in Hampshire and want to do it in a tent, there's a nice place to do it. And here we are on what's called Harvesting Lane, on the final drag to the top of the ridge. As you can see by the hedgerow up there, we're going to be gaining quite a lot of height in not very many forward meters quite soon. So probably going to do the final 200 feet of this ascent in maybe 300 or 400 feet of road. And slowing down now. That might be a little bit because of the slopes involved. So we seem to be quite sheltered from the wind here, so that's good. I do like it when the trees make nice little archways like that. I think that sort of boxy wind noise you can hear might be the Osmo's noise rejection algorithm failing quite to get rid of that, or not knowing what it is. which is understandable. It's like being in a selective ghost house. Of course, I'm aware all this time that my poor suspension is slowly leaking air due to some compromised seals, so I'm quite keen to just get up there all in one go without having to stop and re-inflate it until, well, at least a bit later in the ride. Let's at least get to the summit, hey? But we started off at 225 psi and we're probably down to about 180 already. But it's okay, because I'm very light and these bumps are not so extreme. But now we are just leaving the sheltered bits and getting to the really high bit of the ridge. So I'm expecting the wind to be kicking up a bit more dramatically fairly shortly. We can certainly hear it, and we can see it in those wavy bits of reediness at the left. But it's not too bad at the moment. Probably slowing down just because of the gradient now, which is quite steep. Fortunately, still no cars behind me or oncoming. There's not much in the way of passing places around here. I'd pretty much have to just go into the hedgerow if I meet anybody now. There you go, can you see that? The wind is properly kicking up now as we get to the brow of the hill. There I am complaining about it. But we're nearly there at the brow of the hill. So there's a road section here that runs all the way across the ridge. So as soon as I get to that, I'll be looking hard right to make sure nothing's going to slidge me from that direction as I turn the corner. So looking right now, and yes, it's fine, so round we go. And now the wind suddenly doesn't seem so hostile. And the reason for that is it's not crosswind anymore, it's now pushing behind us. I forget whether that means we're riding upwind or downwind, probably downwind. See it in the trees there. But as you can see, I'm feeling a little bit confident to go a bit faster. Still no faster than the bicycle, because I'm aware there are people around as we get nearer the country park bit. There is one of them with a dog, hopefully on a lead. And lucky us, it's not one of the dogs that wants to kill us. I always forget how much of this ridge road there is before we actually get to the top of Butser Hill, but we're only just coming up to it now. And here we are entering the country park bit. And I think as we're a bit short of this hill ridge, we're getting a little break from the wind now because it's sheltering us. So we could have gone up to the right there for the more direct route to the mast, but no, we're going to go around a nice pavey bit where there are rogue potholes to watch out for, but generally it's a much nicer surface. And I'm all about the nice surfaces, having just dealt with that horrible farmer's road. And now I think we're going to get a bit of fortuitous timing, in which some helpful pedestrians and hill walkers are going to notice that I'm coming, presumably because I look like some sort of mental stormtrooper having a midlife crisis, and they're going to be nice enough to hold the gate open for me. For some reason I'm going to go Italian while I'm speaking to them, but undaunted, on we go, and we're now on the crest of the hill. We can start to see the grass and the trees going a little bit mad in the wind, and I am feeling lots more unstable even though Rocksteady Plus is doing an excellent job of making it look fine. But we're nearly there. We are nearly at the base of that mast, at which point we shall consider this journey a victory, because we've managed to get all the way there without putting a foot down, or getting blown off, or going in a pothole, or getting twatted by a car. So that was all lovely. Let's enjoy our victory as we get to the top. Well, that was sketchy as hell. But my god, we made it from my back door to the highest point in Hampshire, which is Butser PLC radio station, Extreme Danger. And the extreme danger is not from anything in here or that enormous mast, it's this horrendous wind. And rather than listen to me bang on about it anymore, let's just have a quick panorama round at the top of the hill and enjoy all the views that there are to be seen. I don't even have to say it, do I? Ah, did you hear that? EUCW did at last tell me that it was 40 kph wind. And that I can't believe. Yep, there it is. Just having another pan round. Should have brought a guitar with me. It's a perfect place to get your armour on and then do an epic guitar solo. And here we are on the other side of the hill, about to make what I would not call a brave descent. As you can see, having to do quite a lot of the arms there to remain stable. Knees look like they're at very weird angles as well. If we're looking at the shadow, yep, let's get on the grass. That's a lot easier, isn't it? Yep, now this slope looks like it is easy, and in places it is. But there are other places where I'm going to just chicken out and walk it. Because the slope gets a bit gnarly, and also I'd realised at the top of this hill that one of my brake pads had slipped, as in actually the Velcro had come off. So it was proving a little bit tricky to get those to stay absolutely rooted. And as my slightly weird gait on the wheel means that I do most of my braking with that leg. And I know there's a really, really rutty bit coming up, and I doubt my suspension at this point. All those things conspired so that I thought I would skip the middle bit of this downhill, even though I have got my leash on, which would stop the wheel rolling down the hill ahead of me and destroying itself. I just thought, no, my legs are probably quite weak after that big long ride uphill. So just let's not risk it. Anyway, it's good to walk some bits of the ride, isn't it? So that you get to, you know, enjoy nature at an even slower pace. And also, you know, train your leg muscles not to completely atrophy and forget how to walk. So that's my excuse for walking the worst bit. And then, as you can see, I'm back on the wheel here for the nice, easy, gently sloping bit at the end. And I don't know if you can hear that weird sort of growly noise that's coming from my microphone. No, not the microphone, it's coming from the wheel. Can you hear that? That shouldn't be there. Oh yeah, there it is, quite loud there. And I think that is because on the way down that hill there was such a lot of ruts and rocks and stuff that our suspension drained to new levels of low, and I think we are running very low on suspension here. We might be down as little as 100 psi. It doesn't seem to be stopping me rolling about the place. But I think I'm aware it's doing it, but possibly not how loudly. And of course the camera being close to it, I get to review it later and think, oh, what's that noise? But anyway, we're going to persevere a little bit. Got a bit of steep rockiness to do here. Very rocky, very gravelly, it's all loose. Not very nice. As you can hear, I'm whinging about it. Then onto a little isolated path bit. And then the nice bright trees you can see over there are the Queen Elizabeth Country Park. And we're going to be heading over there to go back. Yeah, the grinding isn't so much grinding now, it's just a gentle clicking. So I think there might be something maybe caught in the wheel well there between the little metal mudguard and the tyre maybe. Or it could just be that the whole suspension and system is very low and maybe something's rubbing when it can get that low. Oh yeah, definitely hear the grinding now. But doesn't seem to be stopping us rolling. But I am going along this a lot more slowly than I would be, so I think we can assume I can hear it as well. Now, does it stop when we go to a different surface? And mysteriously it's gone now. Yep. Can't hear it now. Some very bumpy bits, which RS Plus is doing an excellent job of smoothing out. And now we're going to stop by the visitor centre and reinflate our suspension. And that's hopefully going to put an end to the grindy noise for good. And of course, because I'm recording this later, I can tell you that yes, it does sort that out. And we never hear that noise again. And there we go. Over to live Cerberus. Well, I'll tell you, it's a hell of a relief to be off that hillside with all that scary, scary wind. That was probably the sketchiest ride I've ever done, and probably got a lot of XP in that, although I'm ashamed to say I did chicken out of the most difficult bits. But that's alright. There's no hurry with these things, and we get to live another day. More importantly, so does our little master. But though, I think the suspension might be getting progressively worse, because we have lost about 100 psi since the beginning of this ride. And though it's been incredibly bumpy, I suspect it's actually because I adjusted my rebound control, and I think we may have found out that that might be where it's leaking from. So the more that is unscrewed, the faster it leaks by the looks of it. Yesterday it held up to a 3-hour ride without losing more than about 40 psi, and today it was down to, well, it lost 150 between the start of this ride and now 2 hours later. So, yep, the time to swap that out is coming fast. Right, gonna have a little rest now. And my legs are just knackered at the moment. God, I'm so unfit. Anyway, so I'm gonna have a little rest, which means I've got proper control back by the time I go for the final leg home, which will be in a little bit. Don't know if I'll film that or not. But anyway, what an adventure. And no better way I can think of to spend a Sunday afternoon. Cheers guys, see you next time.